Hello everyone, TimeToGrind here, and welcome to Patch Breakdown. Now, I know I say this almost every single patch breakdown, but this is easily one of the biggest patches that we've had in a long while. Now, just to preface this actually hasn't been applied to the Overwatch game itself yet. The only way to play this patch is by clicking the PTR section in the region, and that'll allow you to play this patch. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's pretty much Blizzard lets people test out the new patches before they come out to make sure nothing, breaks the game in any way, and all you have to do is select PTR in the region selection and it'll download the game and all that good stuff, and play it with multiplayer and everything. Now, your progress will be moved onto the PTR, so all your skins and stuff will still be there, but any progress you make from that won't go back to the game when the PTR leaves. But you'll definitely want to play this PTR, especially with all of the amazing new stuff we have. And of course, the most obvious and the thing that I think most people know about is the new hero, Ana. Now, she's the support sniper that we've been speculating a lot about. Originally, we thought it was going to be Sombra, but it's Ana. But, she pretty much does kind of similar to what we thought, and she's actually extremely, extremely fun. So what she does is her sniper rifle, if she hits enemies, it does something, and if she hits teammates, it does something. If she hits her own teammates, it does a little damage over time, but the damage over time is, probably around 3 seconds-ish, so it's very fast. And if she hits an enemy, it does around, I think 80 damage over time, within 3 seconds. So it still can actually hit enemies, and it does a pretty decent amount of damage. It's just damage over time. Then she has a sleep dart that she fires a dart from her sidearm, and it renders an enemy unconscious for 6 seconds. Now, 6 seconds is a very long time. The thing is, though, is if that target gets damaged in any way, they wake up. So it's not like, McCree, where you can stun them and then keep hitting them for 6 seconds, no. But it's still extremely, extremely helpful, because in a team fight, you sleep someone, if they don't get hit, it was a 5v6 for 6 seconds, and that can definitely change the tide of, a match. Then her other ability is a biotic grenade, and it you throw it and it, kind of blows up and does this AoE, and it does damage to enemies, and it heals allies in a small area of effect, and allies that were affected by it a little bit get extra healing from any sources, and enemies that were in the blast for a little bit cannot be healed for a few seconds. So it's definitely very interesting, because you can use it to deal damage, you can use it to heal your teammates, you can use it to heal your teammates even more because you can heal with your rifle, or you could do it if, they're Zenyatta ulted, and, you do that, none of them can heal. And so it's very, very interesting. And her ultimate, I think, is one of the most game-changing ultimates in Overwatch. Also one of the most fun. It's Nano Boost, and after she hits one of her targets with it, and after she hits them for a little bit, they get a combat boost where they temporarily move faster, deal more damage, and take less damage from enemies' attacks. So it kind of makes them a boss. So in the gameplay you're seeing, it was mainly done on Pharah's when they're ulting, or Reinhardt's to come in and kind of, hit everyone. And there's a lot of possibilities to do with it. I think, it was used on D.Va a little bit because we needed to survive to not lose the point and stuff like that. So it's really interesting. And as awesome as she is, she's not even the only thing that makes this update huge. So let's, go right into the other updates. So one of the smaller things that I think people, a lot of people are gonna like, that it's gonna be one of those things that you didn't know you wanted it, but now that it's here, you're glad it's here. If a match goes into overtime for more than 20 seconds, the fuse will now start to burn down more quickly, and players now respawn more slowly during overtime, which is, it increases it by 2 seconds. Now that's both teams, so it's not just the team that needs to finish pushing, it also hurts the team that needs to actually, keep holding on to it and prevent the push. So it's not favoring anyone. It mostly is going to still favor the the team trying to stop the push, just because that's kind of the way overtime is anyways. But it definitely stops these overtimes from lasting really long, because it's going to be harder to jump back on the point, harder to defend it longer while your team comes, and if you get off of it, it's going to be taken instantly, because the fuse burns down more quickly. So that's huge. And now one of the biggest changes besides, actually, you know, this I think is more influential for the future of the game than the new hero is. And this is the fact that in competitive play, matches can now only have one of each hero per team. And if you watched my video recently, you know, it was called Another Look at Hero Stacking, you know, I kind of said that I personally switched my opinion. I wanted there to be only one hero per team now, because a long time ago, one of my first videos, and actually one of my more popular videos, was called Why Hero Stacking Isn't Bad. And at the time, it wasn't. You know, the game was new, it was still in beta, there weren't that very many tournaments. The only really cheesy strat we saw was when a competitive team picked 6 divas, and besides that, you know, we're like, ah, we'll just adjust diva and it'll be fine. But it turned out to definitely not be fine, because in competitive games, if you watch any competitive games, you know, it was boring if they didn't have one hero limits on control maps. 2 Tracers, 2 Winstons, 2 Lucios. That's the team. That's the team composition. You know, maybe you stray a little bit to try to counter that team composition, but other than that, that's the team composition. When McCree was broken, you know, two McCrees every game, and it definitely made it less fun as a spectator, but also as a player, because, you know, you don't want to watch just only 3 heroes being picked on both teams, because that means 3 out of 21, actually 3 out of 22 now that we have Ana, heroes are only being picked. And that's not okay for a game to have so many heroes and only 3 of them being picked per game. That's a little ridiculous. So what this is going to do is it's going to force at least 6, because even if both teams are picking the exact same heroes, there's still only going to be able to be 6. And this actually doesn't affect competitive tournaments that much, because people like ESL and Gosu Gamers actually implemented their own 1 hero limit. Teams weren't allowed to do it. You know, they could, and they'd get disqualified, but it was just a rule they added. And, you know, the competitive players wanted it, the spectators wanted it, the, you know, shoutcasters wanted it, everyone wanted it. And I know there's going to be some people like me before I kind of changed my opinion on it that are going to hate this so bad and think Blizzard just caved in. But I really recommend, if you're still kind of thinking that, maybe clicking, you know, and looking at my other video about Another Look at Hero Stacking, because I explain in depth why I kind of changed my opinion, so maybe that'll change yours. But it's really nice that that was added. I actually wasn't expecting Blizzard to do that. I was expecting them to kind of put up a fight and, you know, not want to do that. But nonetheless, it's still a very, very nice change to see. And of course there's, you know, some miscellaneous updates here and there, like stuff with achievements and sprays being renamed, but that doesn't really matter. If you want to, you know, look at those each individually, in the description will be the actual patch notes. But let's look at the actual hero balance updates, because this also changes a lot. So first of all, just generally, self-healing abilities now charge your own ultimate, and that's huge, because things like Roadhog's healing will actually give him ultimate charge. Now, you know, they did adjust some of the ultimate costs on some heroes. As an example, the first hero balance change was Bastion, as his ultimate cost was increased by 10%. So, not a lot, because Bastion doesn't heal himself as much as people like Roadhog, but it's still enough to merit him getting his ultimate cost increased. Next, you have Lucio, where his ultimate cost was increased by 10%, just like Bastion, because he will tend to heal himself a little bit, but not too much where it matters. Then we have D.Va. Now, D.Va was one of 2 heroes that was kind of not reworked, because she was reworked a little bit, but not too much. So her defense matrix is what we're, you know, actually looking at. So the cooldown was decreased from 10 seconds to 1 second. Before you think that makes her OP, let's just actually look at the next things. So her defense matrix, instead of just you pressing a button and it holds out the defense matrix, you know, for a certain amount of time, and then it goes away and it's a 10-second cooldown, now you hold the defense matrix down with right click to hold it, you know, down. And at full charge, if it's at fully charged, the defense matrix will still only last for 4 seconds, but say you only want it for 1 second. You can hold it down for 1 second, and there's actually a meter that recharges. And so it takes 10 seconds to recharge it completely, so it's still, if you were to just hold it down every time you used it, it would still be the same as it being a button, but it just instead gives her a ton of versatility, where she might not need to use it for the full 4 seconds, so then she can actually have it for the next fight, or the next thing that comes at her. So that's actually, it doesn't seem like that much, but that is definitely going to buff D.Va to, I think, actually being really playable. And on top of that, her self-destruct got buffed a lot as well. Her ultimate cost got decreased by 15% because, as you guys know, it actually took way too long to get the ultimate, so it's nice for that to be shorter, but the explosion delay was reduced from 4 seconds to 3 seconds, so they have less time to actually get out of the way of it, and the explosion no longer kills Diva. So just a bunch of stuff that I think is going to actually make her really, really good. And McCree, you know, they feel like they kind of over-nerfed him a little bit, and I don't think this is the change that was wanted, but I think it's going to definitely help, is that McCree's pistol now maintains full damage at longer distances, but it will deal less damage at extreme ranges. So he can't, you know, be a super sniper, but his, you know, actual weapon itself is still going to actually, you know, do damage long range, because you know, a long time back they made damage fallout a thing on him and it hurt him a lot with longer range, but now that he maintains full damage at longer distances, that is going to help him out a lot. I still don't think it helps him with his right click because there's almost no reason to actually right click, but it'll still make him better. And next we have Mercy, and her staff, the damage boost of the staff, has been increased from 30% to 50%, but it won't stack with, you know, any other damage bonus provided by another Mercy. So it doesn't really affect competitive because you can only have one Mercy, but it'll affect quick play. And then you have Resurrect, and the ultimate charge cost was increased by 30% because it was a very short cooldown for some reason, but she can actually move while she's ulting, and Guardian Angel instantly resets upon use. So that's very nice. It'll make it where she doesn't just die immediately most of the time when ulting in a fight because she can actually move and get out of the way. That is very, very helpful. That's gonna, I don't know if they needed to buff her that much because it is a buff. It's definitely a buff. Her ultimate charge has been increased by 30%, but her damage, her bonus damage was to 50%. So I think we may still have a problem with seeing only Mercy. Of course, Roadhog, his ultimate cost was increased by 45% because, you know, he heals a lot when he heals. Soldier 76, his heavy pulse rifle. The spread recovery will begin after a short delay rather than instantly, so a small nerf to him, and his tactical visor ultimate cost was increased by 10% because of the fact that he can heal himself. And then we have Zenyatta. Now Zenyatta got a pretty big buff. His base shields was increased by 50, so now he has 50 health and 150 shield. So, you know, a lot of people were wondering why he was still very, very very squishy, because originally it was because he could put orbs on people and then not worry about it, but now that the orbs come back, he actually has to have a sort of battle presence, so he has enough health to do that. And his actual orbs, the Orb of Discord and Orb of Harmony, the projectile speed has been increased from 30 to 120, so they're going to come out instantly. And then when he uses his ultimate, his movement speed is doubled, and he heals 300 per second, not 200. So that also helps his ultimate a lot. And there's some, you know, UI updates and bug fixes. None of that's, you know, too important. That's not really the most important things of this, but if you do want to look it out, it'll be in the description below. But overall, this patch is huge. It's going to change a lot. It definitely helped Overwatch for the future of competitive and just balance-wise. Other than that, that's all I really have for you guys. But before you leave, one of my friends over at Overwatch TV, he makes a bunch of top Overwatch plays and, you know, top worst of, you know, plays and kind of stuff like that. And his videos are really, really good. And he actually made a video of best of TimeToGrind Overwatch montage. So if you want to kind of see some of my plays from throughout my older, you know, YouTube videos, if you want to see some of the better ones, then click the video on the annotation, and it's a pretty cool montage of me, and I'm the coolest person in the world, so I mean, why not click it? But yeah, but if you enjoyed this video, then consider leaving a like down below and subscribing to see more Overwatch content and news, and also check out his video of me, because it has me in it, and it's the best thing ever. But like always, guys, see you next time.